Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Curtis, and today I'm going to do a review for Beauty in Black, Season 2, Episode 5. So, the episode started where the last one ended. Remember, Kimmy, Sylvia, and Rain, they were trying to escape, but there was a truck in the road, and so Kimmy had to swerve, but unfortunately, she swerved into a ditch. And so she's trying to get out, but unfortunately, she can't. And then she looks over to her left and she sees somebody walking towards the car. So she's like, "Who is that?" And it turned out to be Horace. So Horace is like, "Are you going somewhere?" And so she continues to try to get out. And then all of a sudden, the guy who was the original driver that was supposed to drive them, he actually rushes up to the window. It's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop, stop, stop. You're going to hurt somebody." And she's like, "Listen, just let them go. Just let them go. Do what you want with me." And he's like, "What are you talking about? Like, nobody's holding you hostage. Like, what are you talking about?" It is super chaotic at this point. The guy, he's still pretty much banging on the window, telling them to get out and to stop trying to escape. And so Kimmy, of course, she is still trying to escape. But then she looks over and she notices that Angel is there. And so her and Rain is like, "What the hell is going on?" Because remember, the reason why Kimmy was trying to escape is because she thought that Horace had him killed. And so the fact that she sees him, she's like, "Wait, what exactly is going on here?" While all of this is going on, Horace, because remember, he was in the hospital like a few minutes ago, so of course he's still not in the best condition. So I was like, I don't feel good, I'm tired. And so Angel's like, "You know what, let me help you, I'm going to take you back to the truck." And so the ladies, as far as with Angel, Rain, and Sylvia, they do get out, and then they end up getting into the truck, and they all end up going to the house. Once they get inside the house, Horace is just like, "What's going on, what's happening, like, why were you trying to escape?" And so nobody really wants to say anything, but then Sylvia, she's looking around. She's like, "Wait, is that the guy? Is that the Angel guy?" And Kimmy was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I thought he was." She was like, "Shh." She was like, "No, no, no, but I thought you said that he was." She was like, "Look, what I told you was what Rain told me." And then Rain was like, "Well, that's what I." She catches herself because she's like, "I can't reveal the source because we're supposed to be trusting one another." So she was just like, "Look, I got that information, so I relay that information to you." Kimmy turns to Horace and she's just like, "What are you doing here? Like, how did you get here?" And he was like, "I did not want to die in the hospital. Like, I don't feel like my last breath should be in the hospital." And so Sylvia looks at him and she's like, "You should go to that treatment center I was telling you about." And he was like, "You know what? I'm actually going to go there tomorrow." But then he starts to think, like, "Wait a minute, y'all, you are trying to throw me off track here. Let's go back to the question that I asked a little bit earlier, like, what exactly is going on?" And Sylvia was like, "You know what? That's the question that you should ask her as far as Kimmy. I'm going to go to bed." And Kimmy's like, "Sylvia," she's like, "Bye, I'm going to bed." Angel is just like, "What is going on? Like, what exactly is happening here?" And Kimmy is like, "Look, I was told that you were killed because Horace gave the green light to have you killed." And so this is when Angel's like, "Yeah, but when it comes to the overall hit, it wasn't really intended for me. It was intended for somebody else. It just so happened that I was walking by the car and I got arrested. And so he didn't really know what was going on, but that's pretty much what happened." And Horace is just like, "Look, y'all dwelling on this shit. Like, listen, that's water under the bridge. That's old. Everything's been taken care of. Like, why are y'all still talking about this?" And I'm like, "Why are they still talking about this? This man was almost killed." Horace goes back to his original question. He's like, "What's going on? Where were you going? Why were you leaving?" And she's just like, "Look, once I found out what happened to Angel, or at least what I thought happened to Angel, I felt like you were going to do the same thing to us. And so I felt like the best thing to do at that time was to escape because, of course, I do not want anything to happen to me. I don't want anything to happen to my sister. And I do not want anything to happen to Rain." Horace is so disgusted at Kimmy right now. He's like, "You know what, Angel, please help me up." So Angel helps him up, and he's like, "I'm about to just go to my room. I don't have time for this shit." And then Rain is like, "You know what? I don't have time for this shit either. I'm actually about to go to the club." She was like, "You going to the club?" She said, "Yeah, I'm about to go get Alex, and we're about to go back to the club." We go to Roy and Mallory's house, and Roy, he is smiling, looks like he's having a good time, but that smile goes away once he realizes that his mom is calling. So he's just like, "What do you want?" And reminder, his mom is very drunk. Y'all remember from the previous episodes? She is drunk. He's like, "What the hell do you want?" She's like, "Why are you answering the phone like that? Like, why are you talking to me like that?" And it's like, "What do you want?" She is like, "What question should you be asking me right now?" And he was like, "What?" She was like, "What question should you be asking me right now?" He was like, "I don't know." And she was like, "It's driving up to you right now." He was like, "Okay, well, what's driving up to me right now?" And then she was like, "You know what? I have a better question for you. Where is your wife?" And he was like, "I don't know. Hold on. Mallory, Mallory." He was like, "I mean, I guess she's not here." And then she was like, "Well, I know where she is." He was like, "Well, where is she?" And then she was like, "She is currently fucking Varney." He was like, "She is not fucking Varney." She was like, "Yes, I seen it. I seen how he was looking at her. I saw how she was looking at him. They are fucking." And he was like, "No, they're not." She was like, "Trust me, they are. I can see it." And this is when Roy slips up and tells his mom that actually Varney is fucking Charles. And she was like, wait, what? He was like, yes, Varney is fucking Charles and I gotta go. Bye. And speaking of Varney, Varney and Mallory, they actually pull up. Varney's like, let me walk you to the door. And she's like, no, 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 don't do that. Roy's in there. He's going to give you a hard time. He's like, I don't mind. He's like, no, 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 let's not do that. We don't even want to get him started. And then she's like, are you going to go home? And he was like, yeah. She's like, you're going to go all the way back to Chicago? He was like, yeah. And she was like, why don't you just go to Charles' house? And so he's still trying to play these games like those two are not together or that they don't have something going on. And Mallory was like, look, I know that you two are fucking. You can just cut the games. And he was like, well, if I go over to his house, then his father is going to find out. And she was like, how is he going to find out he's in the hospital? He was like, well, what about the security guards? You're not going to call and tell him? She was like, don't worry about that. Were you worried about that before? Like, why are you worried about that now? She tells him to go over to Charles' house. It shouldn't be a problem, but we know that there are two big issues here. So number one, we know that Horace is out of the hospital. That's number one. And then number two, we know that Dustin, the guy that told Charles that he was going to rob him, yeah, he's actually getting ready to bring him home. So yeah, we actually have two problems here. And speaking of Charles and Dustin, y'all, Olivia, bless her heart, she calls Charles and Charles like, hey mom, what's going on? And she was like, are you fucking Varney? He was like, what? She was like, are you fucking Varney? He was like, I mean, do you want to know the positions? You want to know who's on top, who's on bottom? She was like, wait a minute, you fucking Varney? That's a big man. And he was like, mom, I don't want to have to hang up on you. And so she keeps going on and on and on. And he's like, you know what? I got to hang up. I got to go. Bye. After he hangs up, he and Dustin, they start doing drugs. And Dustin's like, are you going to take me home? And Charles is like, I'm still thinking about it. And then next thing you know, they start tweaking out. And I was just like, oh, man, this is not going to end good. Back at the house, Kimmy and Angel, they have a conversation. Kimmy reveals to him that she and Horace got married without a prenup. And she also reveals that Horace wants her to run the business because he hates his family so much. And Angel was like, wait, so he hates his family so much that he's willing to let a stranger come in and run the business? She was like, yeah, but not only is he willing to let me come in, he's also willing to let his little piece of ass come in, referring to him. And Angel was like, look, I'm not fucking him. And she's like, look, you don't have anything to worry about. He's not currently in the position to do that right now, unless you give him a pill or two. While they are talking, the butler comes into the room and says, hey, Kimmy, Horace actually wants to see you. So she's like, you know what? I'll be right back. And then after this, we see Rain. She finally makes it to the club, and she actually runs into Felicia. Her and Felicia start having a conversation. It's real small talk, but Felicia notices how her ass looking. She's like, wow, Dega did a really good job with that. And she was like, as far as Dega, you know where she's at? Like, have you seen her? She's like, I don't know where she's at. She was like, do you know where she be doing, like, the shots and everything? And she said, you know what? You know how Dega is. Dega is all over the place. 1 minute Dega's there, 1 minute Dega's there. Like, you never know where Dega is. Rain is just like, dang, she do be all over the place. So then she's like, okay, let me think. Okay, well, as far as clientele goes, do you know who her next client is going to be? Do you know, like, who she's currently trying to do some work to? And so Felicia's like, well, from what I've been told, it appears as if Shake Shake, which, side note, Tyler Perry, why did you name this lady Shake Shake? Out of all of the names, Shake Shake? Really? You ain't shit, Tyler. Anyway, so it appears as if Shake Shake is going to be the next client. And so Raina's like, okay, let me just go over and talk to her. And so she was like, wait a minute, don't do that. And she was like, why not? She was like, well, when it comes to Shake Shake, she's actually been a little big-headed lately. Like, she's been acting as if she's the next one up because Body's dead. And Raina's like, what are you talking about? Body's not dead. Body's in the hospital. And Felicia's like, see, this is what I be talking about. People are so fake. Like, why is her family out here raising money for a funeral if she's still alive? And Raina's like, oh, shoot, did she die? It appeared as if Rain was getting ready to get into her feelings, but she's like, look, I got to figure something out. I'm going to deal with my emotions a little bit later. And she's like, I'm going to go talk to her. And before she walks over, Felicia's like, wait. She was like, what? She was like, what about Kimmy? Like, is everything okay with Kimmy? Because remember, she's supposed to be getting information about Kimmy to give to Mallory. And then Rain was like, bye, Felicia, and just walks off. Kimmy walks over to Shake Shake, and y'all, I'm just going to call her Shake. I feel like if I say Shake, you all know who I'm talking about, right? We're cool? Okay, good. So she walks over to Shake, and Shake is actually talking to another girl, trying to convince her to get the butt shots. And she's like, listen, it's not going to be an issue. It's not going to be a problem. It's going to turn out great. And so Shake, she actually notices that Rain walks over. So she's like, oh, shit, look at Rain. And she says, Rain, do a little spin. And then so Rain, of course, she's going to play into it because she's trying to get some information. And she's like, listen, I didn't have any ass. Rain didn't have any ass. Now look at us. We both got ass. While they are talking, the announcer actually calls for a Shake. And so Rain's like, hey, they actually called for you. So she's like, okay, I'll be right back. And so once she walks away, Rain is like, okay, let me manipulate this girl so I can get the information that I need. Rain looks at her and she's like, you look nervous. And she's like, I am nervous. She's like, why are you nervous? She's like, I'm not really sure this is something that I should do. And she's like, listen, everything is going to turn out great. Everything's going to turn out fine. Don't worry about it. And so she's like, you know what? Since you are so nervous and so afraid, how about I go with you? She was like, you'll go with me? She's like, yeah, I'll go with you. Where is it? And so she ends up giving her the information about, the location. And it turns out to be the same motel in which Dega did Rain's procedure. And she was like, this bitch. She's really about to do the same procedure at the same motel she did mine. Oh, this is war. The girl goes on to say that Dega actually wants to do it that night. She said, wait, she wants to do it tonight? She said, yes, she wants to do it tonight. She was like, oh, that's perfect. You can definitely get it done tonight. It's going to turn out real good. It's going to be real great. And you know what I want to do, I'm going to meet you there. And so she actually said, you know what, give me your phone. I want to give you my phone number. So that way I can text you once I'm there. She was like, okay, cool. And I was just like, this is not going to end good. Back at the house, Kimmy goes into Horace's room, and Horace is like, look, you need to learn how to trust me. She's like, I'm trying. He was like, no, you cannot try. You need to just trust me. Like, if I tell you something, you can take it to the bank. Like, you don't have to second guess it. He asked her if she thinks that his family should have access to the business, the assets, all of the houses. And she's just like, I mean, honestly, I really do not know. And he's like, think about Roy for a second. I want you to think about everything that you went through with Roy. Do you think that he should have access to the money? She's like, no. He was like, exactly. He was like, listen, you need to get your head in the game instead of being all in your emotions. Like, you're not going to survive doing this if you were constantly in your emotions. It's at this time that he decided to explain to her why he decided to choose her. And he's like, I chose you because you were smart, you were calculated, you were ruthless, and you could read between the bullshit. All of that makes you a great person, but the one thing that is stopping you is the fact that you are so emotional. Like, we have to figure out ways to detach those emotions so you can focus on what's important, which is the business. Speaking of detaching from emotions, Kimmy does bring up Silver. She's like, how do you feel about her being here? And he's like, she needs to go. And she was like, what do you mean she needs to go? He was like, I'm not saying that she needs to be hurt, but I'm saying that she needs to leave because you two are too emotionally attached to each other. Everybody knows that you love your sister to death. She loves you to death. And so eventually somebody's going to try to use that against you. We can't let that happen while you're trying to run the business. Kimmy's like, well, I do want her to go to college. I want her to have a better life. And Horace is like, cool, that's great. Like, we can get her sent to college so that way she's not around to distract you when it comes to this business. While the two of them are talking, Horace is like, do you mind getting that book over there? So she gets the book, and it turns out to be a bunch of paperwork that pretty much goes over the overall structure of the business. Kimmy is looking at it. She notices that the CEO and the COO make the same amount of money and they get the same amount of shares. And she's like, what is this about? And Horace is like, well, the reason why the CEO and the COO make the same amount of money, get the same amount of shares, is because I was both. I was the CEO and I was the COO. He goes on to say that now that those two are married, he'll be the CEO, she'll be the COO, and they will have equal shares. And she was like, word? We go back to the club and we actually see Roy. And Roy, of course, he's being an asshole to anybody in his way. And he ends up going into opposite attraction. And Roy is like, as far as the club is concerned, are there any cameras in here? He was like, well, there are some cameras in here, but when it comes to the VIP section, there are actually no cameras. And so he looks around. He's like, you know what? I want that girl, and that girl, and which one of them is Felicia. He's like, I want them in the VIP room. And Traxton's like, no problem. Dustin ends up rushing back into the main room and he runs into the guy that was supposed to drive Mallory. And I do apologize. I've been trying to figure out what his name is. I've been looking him up on IMDb. I cannot find it. So at this point, he's going to be the guy that was supposed to drive Mallory. Dustin tells him that Charles agrees to let him come to the house. And he's like, okay, you tell me this for what? He was like, I need you and two guys to come with him. He was like, come with you for what? He was like, because there's a safe there. I'm telling you, I know there's a safe there. And he was like, look, I need to see some type of proof before I get involved in anything. And he's like, I'm telling you it's there. He said, listen, give me some proof and then I'll see what I can do. And Dustin's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. Charles and Dustin, they end up making it to the house. And Dustin's like, wow, this is so nice. This is so beautiful. I can't believe this big ass house. And Charles is like, you need to take your clothes off. And it's like, damn, you just get to the point. And I'm just like, I mean, you two did meet at a strip club. I mean, you take your clothes off for money. So I'm not understanding why one would think that it'll be a problem for you to take your clothes off in this moment. I'm just saying. Dustin tells him that he wants to take everything in. And then next thing you know, we see Varney coming down the stairs. Charles is just like, what do you want? And then the two of them, they start to get into it. And Dustin's like, do I need to leave? And Charles is like, no, just go upstairs, go into my room, take your clothes off. I'll be there in a minute. Dustin goes upstairs to the room and he immediately starts taking pictures and he starts sending it to the guy that was supposed to drive Mallory. And y'all, Charles just has everything everywhere. Like, he has all of these watches, all of this jewelry, and it turns out he does have a safe. And so Dustin's like, yes, yes, yes. So he's sending the pictures, and we see the guys at the club, and he's like, oh, he does have a safe? Okay, we're going to see what we're going to do. While he was taking pictures, Charles actually walks in. He's like, what are you doing? He was like, oh, I'm just admiring everything. And he's just like, why do you still have your clothes on? He was like, well, dang, like, can I take a shower first? So Charles was like, okay, there's a shower right there, take it. And so he walks over there. He's like, can you show me how to work it? He was like, here you go. That's how you turn it on. The water starts. And he's like, okay, what about music? Do you have some music? And so he's like, Alexa or whatever the AI system was, play some music. And so he's like, oh yeah, cool, cool, cool. And he's like, look, finish taking your shower and then come over to the bed so we can get this done. I do want to add two quick notes to this. So the first note, when it comes to Varney, so Varney did not leave, so he's actually still downstairs. And then also, I think it's important to note that with Dustin, he did ask Charles, like, is he still here? Is Varney still here? Because of course, he has the guys coming over. He doesn't want Varney to get involved. And Charles is like, he's gone. Don't worry about it. After this, we see Alex and Rain. They arrive at the motel, and Rain, she is ready to go, but Alex is like, wait a minute, hold on. She was like, what? She was like, it's like four of them. Like, are you trying to get jumped? Are you trying to get hurt? And she was like, I'm not worried about that. I got a gun. So she pulls out this little gun, and he was like, listen, put that shit back in your purse. I got something better. He pulls out a bigger gun and then says, you know what, let me prove my loyalty to you. And she's like, what does that even mean? He was like, let me prove my loyalty. And she was like, look, I'm not a person that passes my enemies off to somebody else. If I have a problem with somebody, I deal with it on my own. And he was like, you know what, fine. You want to go deal with it? Cool. But I'm going to be in the background and make sure that you are safe. We go into the motel room and we see Shake. We see the girl that was nervous about getting the bus shots, and we see Dega. And Dega's like, listen, don't worry about anything. I'm a nurse. Everything's going to turn out fine. And so during this scene, Shake actually brings up the fact that Rain was at the club. And Dega was like, Rain? She was at the club? And she was like, yeah, she was at the club. And she was like, what happened? Like, what was the conversation about? What were you all talking about? And then next thing you know, Rain starts banging on the door. She's like, it's Rain. And it was like, oh shit, it's about to go down. And that was the end of the episode. I do appreciate you all watching. I also appreciate you all sticking with me. I know it's been a while since I did the episode 4 review. I do apologize about that. But if you could, please like, comment, share, subscribe. That would be great. I do hope you all have a great rest of your night. Take care.